Boom, boom, boom. This is Jared, and I'm back. Hey, guys, I'm the host of Warriors Quest, Jared A. Brown, and I'm so excited. I'm amped, okay? I'm so excited to be back, all right, and do another episode, another show for Warriors Quest. All right, Warriors, be ready because we've got a great show, all right? Man, all right, we've got a good one. Okay, we've got a great co-host tonight. Somebody who's been on one of our shows from the Urban Health Outreach Media Network very recently. All right. Somebody who has been battling kidney disease in her own right. All right. And has some guns of her own by battling. And she's got the boxing gloves every day battling this disease. And so I'm bringing on Elizabeth Sterling from, okay, now, I'm going to say this wrong, but hopefully not. Johnsonville, Tennessee, is that right?
No, Johnson.
Oh, my gosh. All right, I got it wrong. Johnson City. Yes. Johnson City, Tennessee.
Have you ever heard the song Wagon Wheel?
Yes, I have. Okay, all right, yeah. Very nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I advocate for somebody currently who's from Kentucky, and her hospital is Vanderbilt, you know, and so that's her transplant hospital is Vanderbilt. So, you know, how far away is Vanderbilt from you?
About 4.5 hours.
All right. Okay. Yeah. She's from Marion, Kentucky, you know, so she chose Vanderbilt as a transplant hospital. Her name is Brenda Chanel. And so I have a Facebook page, and I manage that, and I help her and try to promote her cause for a living kidney donor. But
awesome.
Anyway, so thanks. Please, let's have you introduce yourself. Okay, for those that maybe have not seen you recently on the Urban Health Outreach Media Network, Steve has interviewed you recently, and please take a moment and introduce yourself and give us kind of a synopsis of how you're connected to kidney disease.
Well, first of all, Jared, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me as your co-host. You know, I hope that I can, you know, bring some good insight into the discussion this evening. I am in stage 3 polycystic kidney disease. I was diagnosed in 1998, and it's 2019 now, and I'm in stage 3B. I've managed to stay off of dialysis. No transplant at this point. I did get on GnRQ, which is the approved medication to slow down the progression of polycystic kidney disease for autosomal dominant polycystic kidney disease.
Right. Okay.
You know, and with polycystic, it's, you know, it's a lot different because our kidneys grow, and you get, you know, your kidney is the, you know, your size of your fist. And when you get polycystic, they just kind of get bigger and bigger and bigger, and get, you know, blood and fluid filled cysts. In the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I've battled a UTI. Thursday of this past week, I experienced my first 2 ever.
Oh my gosh!
Don't ever want to do
kidney stones.
Yes, ever.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Adam.
So I just have a quick question, okay? Because you know, I mentioned to you while you were being interviewed by Steve Belcher in the comments, and then offline, I was telling you that I've got an uncle, and then I've got an older brother that has PKD, and I'm not sure if they have the same one as you, but I do know that each of them has battled kidney stones. Now, is that something normal for people who have PKD to battle kidney stones?
It is very normal for a lot of patients with PKD to experience kidney stones. And, you know, like I said, I got diagnosed in 1998, started having problems in 1996, and here we are in 2020, and I've never had kidney stones.
Never had them.
5 days ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and it was the most
Help me
miserable.
understand because I have heard, okay, that this is nearly as painful or just as painful as delivering a baby. How
Oh, let me
painful was that?
test to that. Absolutely.
Really? Oh my gosh. That
It was
is
3 o'clock in the morning.
incredible.
It was 3 o'clock in the morning. My schedule's all off. I was sitting there watching TV,
Uh-huh.
and all of a sudden, it just bam, sideswiped me. It just
Just like that.
came out of nowhere. And then I had another episode about
Uh-huh.
3 years later, and I went to sleep for 9 hours. um,
You're
after
wiped out probably.
I was wiped out, and I
Yeah.
actually had somebody coming to take me to the hospital, and I was just
Uh-huh.
asleep. And when I woke up, the intense pain was gone, but I did have a lot of discomfort and tenderness for a couple of days.
Oh,
But
I
I
can
think
only imagine.
seem to be on the mend now. So
Okay.
fingers crossed it doesn't happen.
Yes.
I
Fingers
don't want
crossed.
that again. Childbirth was enough.
Oh, right, right. Oh my gosh. I read online that you weren't doing well, and I vaguely remember the UTI, but if you did put that you had kidney stones and I didn't read or I didn't pay attention, I don't remember that. I am so sorry to hear that. Man,
Well,
you
I
have
did
been through a little bit.
I did a big synopsis. I think it was Friday or Saturday. I can't really remember.
Okay. All right.
After I did we have a health portal at Vanderbilt. So I sent
Okay.
her a message, and she said, if that happens again, just get my butt to the ER immediately for stats.
Were they reprimanding you, or were they just, being just, were they just kind of reminding you?
She was reminding me.
Okay. All right.
She was reminding me that I have
Okay.
to listen to my body and advocate for myself. So
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, and because I remember reading that, that's why when I, tried to, do some dialogue and try to, make sure that we were still on, I was concerned about your health, and so I didn't want to push you to be a co-host. So I'm glad you're feeling somewhat better, and that you're well enough anyway to be on the show tonight as a co-host. Thank
I
you.
went with Steve on Friday for about 5 minutes or so, and I just backed out. I just didn't feel well enough to do it. But I'm okay today, and
Okay.
here we are.
That's
So,
good. Here we are. Yeah. All right. So this medicine, okay, that you take, that you were, that you got the approval to take, um,
mhm.
what's the name of it, and how does that work exactly again?
In clinicals, it was called Tolbacon, and the commercial medication is called GenRQ. I was in the
Okay.
clinical trials for about 2.5 or 3 years. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been on it for almost 5. It went commercial in April of 2018. So, a lot of places, a lot of insurances will cover the medication, but,
Uh-huh.
there's people out there with PKD that are interested in taking GenRQ and they don't have insurance or their insurance will not cover it. There is a patient assistance program that you can contact called Otsuka. They're the
Okay.
manufacturers of the medication, and they do have
Yeah.
a patient
Okay.
program. So you can call and get in with them and, see if you can't get them to cover the cost. But of course, your doctor has to, be educated on the medication and write the prescription.
Uh-huh.
I was very lucky that my nephrologist was over stage 3 of the clinical trials.
All right.
So
All right.
I did my clinical trials at Vanderbilt with my actual nephrologist.
With
Uh,
your actual nephrologist. Very
yes,
cool.
yes, she was over. She
Yeah.
was part of the study. So I just, instead of going to in-clinic visits, I went to a medical
Uh-huh.
arts facility where they did research.
Okay.
They dispensed my medication. They did all of my
Uh-huh.
blood work there, dietary, everything that I needed, I got there.
All right.
And
Very cool.
what Lisa Baxter say in the Polycystic Kidney Disease Foundation, if you go onto pkdcure.org, there should be some information on the website about that. Um, and, they're just making so many advances in, with research for cures for just kidney disease in general.
Right.
And the GenRQ is the first approved medication by the FDA for polycystic kidney disease. Now, I know that they are doing other research for other medications.
Besides besides yours that you're using. Okay.
I know they're using metformin as one, which I find kind of strange since it's used for diabetes. But originally Tolbacon, also known as Samska, is used for congestive heart failure.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so there's different uses for the medication
that do different things. Yeah, and they have a correlation. I'd be interested in. So if Steve and Lisa have interviewed another gentleman, okay, another person that is. I think his name was Blaine. I may be forgetting his name, and I apologize. But they've interviewed somebody else who's taking medication to slow down PKD. And I'd be curious to find out from Lisa or Steve if it's the same medication that you take or if it's different.
It may be.
So anyway, so that is extremely interesting to me. It began because my brother has it, and obviously I have a genuine love for my brother, but all kidney disease warriors, and I'd like anybody who has been able to slow PKD, polycystic kidney disease down, okay, and if it has worked for you, then I would love to have other people get more information about it because if you can do it and they get approved to take the clinical studies as well, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Bill Brazil is his name.
What was it?
I was off on the name. Yeah, I was off on the name, Elizabeth. I thought the guy's name was Blaine. I'm way off. It's Bill. Started with a B.
Lisa,
that name. Anyway,
Lisa, that name does sound familiar. Be part of our PKD Living with Polycystic Kidney Disease group.
I think he may be. He dressed up. He had like this big suit. He dressed up in this suit as a PKD like character. She says that she'll send you a text.
Okay.
Anyway, so that is very interesting, and to get the dialogue going for other people that are watching this broadcast, as well as the other broadcast that Steve interviewed you on, it's always good to get dialogue going so that other people are more aware of it, because education is powerful. You know what I mean? It can literally give people hope. And I'll tell you what, hope, okay, Elizabeth, is the most powerful word in any language, German, Italian, Spanish, whatever. It is so powerful. And I love to give people hope. So if anybody has questions about this trial, this clinical trial that you're doing, will you be okay if they message you directly?
Absolutely, yeah. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything, or they can join the Tolbacon community page.
Okay.
It's a specific page it's based out of the UK, but it is worldwide, and it's for people who are taking the medication.
All right.
They explain, their stories, their downfalls, their upsides, side effects. People that are on GenRQ mostly complain about thirst and bathroom trips and broken sleep. Right now I'm sitting here drinking hot lemon water out of my cup. The struggle is real. And
the struggle is real. Nice.
Then I have my cold water over here. So, I don't know.
Okay, all right.
So you got to drink.
It is. The struggle is real. The struggle is real. It is. All right. So we're bringing on a special guest tonight. He's been on Warriors Quest before, and so I'm going to introduce him. But before I do that, I'm going to thank our sponsors, and I'm going to put you in backstage while I do that, Elizabeth. And I'm going to bring you back on, and we're going to introduce him.
Okay.
So,
I'll see you guys in a little bit.
All right, one moment. So I want to thank our sponsors. Our sponsors. Okay, we've had Renadil. Okay, we've been talking about that. Kibo makes Renadil, and I want to thank our sponsors from Kibo who make Renadil. Okay, as we've said before on many of the Urban Health Outreach Media Network shows. Okay, it's a dietary supplement. All right. The FDA disclaimer. Okay. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. And I want to be clear about that. All right. But please understand that the microbiome is unique. So the product may not work for everyone. Okay. But if you have kidney problems, low functioning kidney or renal deficiency, okay, Renadil may help you. It may help lower, okay, it may help and make you, and it may actually help do this in regards to your bun, okay? So it may help you. Renadil, okay, if you haven't heard Jim Fabian, okay, talk about this, you need to hear him. He gets really excited and pumped up about it. All right, and then I also want to thank, okay, our other sponsors We've had Michael Scott. Okay. Michael Scott is terrific. A kidney warrior who is making anything from t-shirts to right now masks. He was making masks before, okay, COVID-19 hit us. Okay. He was making them for kidney warriors to help prevent any, germs and stuff because their immune systems are weakened. He was doing this even before. He's got a great Etsy website. Okay, I want to see if I can show that on the screen if I can. Bear with me just a moment. I've got a banner over here somewhere, so bear with me here. We got the dialysis warrior, Michael Scott. So here's his banner down below. I've got it. It's displayed across the screen right here. Okay, so, and then we've got, again, Kibo, the information here from Kibo. That's the information from Kibo. If you want to learn more about Renadil, there's the information there. All right. And then I want to talk about, okay, we've got right now we've got, okay, here we go right here. Are you okay? Okay. National High Potassium Awareness Day, May 1st. Okay. We've got a great sponsor, and anybody who's heard Richard Knight speak knows he's a great ambassador. Okay. So please go to this, www.ruok.org. The National High Potassium Awareness Day on May 1st is coming up. So now that I've done that, I want to thank everybody for watching tonight. Okay, I'm going to bring back our co-host, and then we're going to bring on our special guest, Elizabeth. We've got Jeremy Parroco. I've had him on Warriors Quest before, and he was a sterilization expert before he even realized he had kidney disease. And so he knows about having everything clean and sterile, and he's got a great background about that. So I'm going to bring on Jeremy Parroco. Welcome to Warriors Quest, Jeremy.
Hey, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Elizabeth.
You're welcome. Hey, thanks for coming on again, brother. I know that we've had you on before, and you've been able to tell your story before, and it's an amazing one, okay? Because Elizabeth, when he tells his story, he has an amazing story where he literally could have died, okay? He literally, for all intents and purposes, was dead. And
yes, he
came back. It's an amazing story. Yes,
absolutely.
Forward to hearing it.
Yes. So please, Jeremy. All right. Right now, okay, we've got somebody who's from New Jersey right now. You're in New Jersey. Okay. That alone brings up so many questions about how you are. But please introduce those people that may or may not know you already. Give us a brief introduction. Okay. And remind people how your kidney's strong.
Right. Well, as you said, I am in New Jersey. I'm about 30 miles away from the New York City border. And as you said, I am a sterilization expert. I started off as a sterilization tech right here in my hometown. Well, not my hometown, my town of Piscataway, New Jersey. I worked at, I believe it was St. Peter's University Hospital, which was the teaching hospital. And that's where I started my whole technical career. as a sterilization expert, I guess you could say. And I worked all my whole way up to being eventually a director for a sterilization department down in Florida, where I lived up until about 2 years ago in the Fort Myers area. But as you said, Jared, I did die. November 1st, 2017 was when I found out haphazardly that my kidneys failed on me. I woke up with in the emergency room, and that I had, apparently I was shocked back to life after about 21 minutes of being clinically dead. And I didn't believe it until I got my paperwork where it showed me everything. Apparently, I came in with a blood pressure of 205 over 190. So, of course, that was a concern of theirs. But what happened the night before? I was in Maine, roughly about 1,300 miles away from home, living my worst nightmare. I thought I was having a stroke, hence the elevated blood pressure, and I already knew what the signs of a stroke was. So I literally thought I was having a TIA, a transient ischemic attack, which is considered a baby stroke. I had trouble with my speech. I had trouble and being what I was, doing what I was doing, which was an implementation specialist working with Central Sterile. I had basically a whole spiel that I should be able to, basically mouth off, within 10 minutes. I couldn't even gather my words. So I honestly thought I was having a stroke, and I actually took a nosedive into the Central Sterile department. So that alone was scary. Now, mind you, I was on an assignment, so my hotel was a 20-minute drive away. I managed to drive myself home.
It's just amazing to me.
And the funny thing is, when I was driving home, I kept thinking, "What are you going to eat for dinner?" That was the most important thing on my
that was on your mind.
So I said, "I'm going to have some pizza and soda."
Yeah.
And when I got to the hotel, which was, as I said, 20 minutes away, I ordered my pizza and soda.
Good for you.
And it came, and I was sitting there, and I said, "Now I have a very close friend that I considered a sister." And I called her. I said, "What should I do?" She said, "Take your butt back to the hospital." Now the hospital.
Did she say butt?
Oh yeah, she was very adamant about it. She said, "If you're not going to take your butt there, I'm going to come up there from Rochester, New York, and drive you myself."
All right. All right.
And I said, "Okay, all right." After I have my pizza.
Yeah. But see, Elizabeth, what this tells me, okay, from and I think that many kidney warriors have experienced this, is that it hadn't sunken in yet. Do you know what I mean?
It did not.
It hadn't become real. Do you know what I mean? That's what it tells me, Elizabeth. Is that kind of what you're thinking when he's telling this?
I'm thinking more along the lines that pizza is essential. So
okay.
I mean, I was hungry.
Really. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it, if it does take a while for it to sink in, and if you wanted to have that pizza before you went back to the hospital, I can completely understand that, because once you got back in those doors, you probably weren't going to get any food for quite a while.
Oh,
yeah,
life was over. Life was over.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. I was on assignment working with the Veterans Association of Veterans Hospitals of America. So I was working with our boys, trying to be their advocate. for surgeries or whatever they may need. So I was with the VA hospitals of the United
Wow.
States,
Right.
working as an implementation specialist, helping them get into a better place. So
So help me
I drove
understand
my
if I would. I don't mean to interject, Jeremy. I apologize, but help me understand, how you were able to, you know, um, what your job entailed in regards to sterilization and how you were able to become an expert at it.
well. I fell into sterilization by accident. I'm going to be
Okay.
completely truthful.
Uh-huh.
I was going to school as a health information management specialist, and it just so happened one of my classmates said, "Hey, look, I work at St. Peter's. I think I can get you in as a for a job." And I said, "Great." This was back in 2008. I was just graduating. I needed money. I had bills to pay.
Okay.
So she happened to get me the job, and it was based on what I was doing before then, because for about 15 years before then, I worked with my dad as an instrumentation specialist. So I knew all the surgical instrumentation that was
Wow.
being used in the OR. So when I
Okay.
went when I went to my interview with the manager at the hospital at that time, she hired me based on you know your stuff,
You
you
know
know
your
your
stuff.
instrumentation.
Okay.
No, well, she said a different word, but yeah,
You know your stuff.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So she hired me on the spot, and when she found out I was going up through the different levels of management, I finally saw her about 20 years later, and she said, "I knew you would be the one."
Wow.
And she found out that I was went through my regular technical certification all the way up to being a director.
Mhm.
And she said, "I knew you would be the one. I I never doubted you." And I'm still in contact with her right now, through Facebook.
Wow.
And
Yeah. Well,
she's all
that's quite a
she's
statement.
also
She must have really believed in you, and she had a good eye when she saw what you had and what you represented,
mhm.
and for her to do that. I mean, I can understand how you'd have that bond and still have a connection with her now because of that.
I mean,
It
there
takes
was.
one person, that
Mhm.
one person
Yeah.
to push you. It might
Right.
Exactly.
it might not be on your time,
Right.
but it takes
Uh-huh.
one person.
I mean,
That's a great point.
there I was, 24 years old, just getting out of technical school, and she saw my future, and she ran
She
with it.
was able to kind of,
She ran with
yeah,
it.
Hmm.
yeah. That's
Yep.
awesome.
And so anyway, I became that sterilization expert. So that's
Hmm.
how I went on to working with the Veterans Hospitals of America,
Hmm.
because they were transitioning over to an automated system where everything, all their supplies, everything would be charged to the actual patient. And it was just at that time when good old President Trump said, you know, I will give to the veterans all the help that they need. And lo and behold,
Wow.
6 months later, I get a phone call from someone from a census tract that actually said, because of what President Trump is doing, we would like to bring you on. And they hired me on the spot,
What did they mean by that?
meaning they wanted to bring me on to be an implementation specialist to
Okay.
help educate the people in Central Sterile to be able to use this new system.
Uh-huh.
So I became that implementation specialist, traveling around the country. You know, I'm in a different city every 3 weeks, basically.
Okay.
I finished once. I would finish one place. My first My first assignment was all the way out in San Francisco. I stayed there for about a week and a half, or 2 weeks
Hmm.
actually. And then I came back to Florida. I was based out of Florida. And then from Florida, I went back to Colorado. Did the same thing over there. I went from San Francisco to Colorado to Dallas to Houston to.
Wow.
I spent a month in the Texas area,
Uh-huh.
and I was tired, but you know what? I was living the dream. I was
Okay.
living my life to the fullest.
Uh-huh.
And then I went up to Maine, Andros, Maine, to be exact, uh, where I became sick. And when I was there in Maine, I was actually turned away from the hospital, to tell you the truth, because the veterans hospitals do not treat civilians.
Mm-mm.
Even though I had a federal ID, and they said, well, we can treat you, get you stable, but we're going to have to charge you for it. And I said,
Wow.
oh,
Yeah, because
well,
it's not service connected, even though it's a federal job.
mm-hmm. So
Okay.
I said, all right, forget it. So I was thinking about my pizza, and I drove back home 20 minutes to my hotel room. And as I was there in my hotel room, I called my manager and I said,
What did you
"What
have
is
on
the
your pizza?
pepperoni?"
Okay.
Tell you the truth, I had a
All right.
pepperoni and a 2-liter bottle of soda, and I was
Okay. All
determined
right.
I was going to finish it.
You did. By golly, you did.
Oh, I did. I got pretty
Yeah.
close to it too. But
Uh-huh.
I called my manager and I asked her. I said, "What is the protocol?" Because I am a diabetic.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I was diabetic, but I was eating pizza.
All right.
I was a bad diabetic.
Too many
Um,
carbs, right?
yeah, too many carbs. But I asked her. I said, "What is the protocol?" And she said, "Well, get yourself to what do you call it? Like an
Like a
emergency room or some kind of
yeah, like an urgent
uh,
care or
urgent care." Exactly. So I said, "Okay." Well, she was so concerned about me that she called my hotel saying, "Hey, look, I think something's wrong with Mr. Parroco. Can you please check up on him?" So as they were checking up on me, I was sitting there right in front of the manager at the front desk, and I heard them, say my name, and then I was sitting
yeah.
there. I was like, "Well, let me just sit here." I was actually kind of amused by it. I was kind of laughing, when I found out that they were looking for me. But as I was sitting there, I had some kind of spasm in my arm, and it caused my arm to twitch. So it
Wow.
brought up concern,
Yeah.
and they called the ambulance. They called the fire department to for me, which I'm glad that they did because that's where they found out what my blood pressure was. And they wouldn't tell me in the ambulance ride at all. Um, so anyway, 20 minutes later, I wound up in the main general hospital in their emergency room, and I thought I just blacked out. When in all actuality, I was dead. When they were putting in the catheter in my heart, um, I was over medicated. Something happened, and I flatlined while they were doing
Wow.
it.
Wow.
Yep. So I woke up, and that's the funny thing. I woke up. I was really a bad diabetic. Uh, First thing that struck my
You
mind
were a
was,
very bad diabetic?
oh yeah. I mean, I didn't watch my diet, and I smoked.
Yeah.
I was smoking
Okay.
about a pack and a half a day.
Yeah.
Um, so as soon as I woke up, I said, I got to get out of here. I went outside and had a cigarette in the parking lot.
Just just after you had been okay. Well,
Yep.
and again, there are so many different ways that people react and different ways people can deal with stress and
Exactly.
trauma, and so sometimes, just going back to something that in your mind is going to help relieve some of the stress, because that's what people tell me cigarettes may do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
exactly.
I guess that can make sense.
So I went to the parking lot, had my cigarette. Actually, I had two. And I called my wife, but I said, honey, I'm in the hospital right now. And she, of course, all the alarms went off, and she called my dad, who was here in New Jersey. My dad actually drove up about a week later to come see me, with her. But that's how I found out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, man, I mean, every time I hear that, you were literally, for all intents and purposes, dead, and then you were brought back to life, so to speak. I mean, it's just an inspiring story about how God isn't finished with you yet, and you've got still more to do. And so for my faith, I'd love to hear that, because, because I do believe that God has his hand in each of our lives, and so I firmly believe that you weren't ready, and God had other things for you to do. What I'd like to hear a little bit more about is how your sterilization expertise and what makes you unique with that skill set, and what that's meant to you now that you do go to kidney dialysis, okay, and how you're able to maybe look at things with a different eye, so to speak, with a different lens.
Well, being a sterilization expert, you know what has to be done. And in my eyes, I see everything from a terminal sterilization or a processes type of viewpoint.
Okay.
Number one, everything in dialysis has to be dated and signed by the technician. Number one. Number two, I was the first one to say you're all wearing the wrong kind of mask. You have to I said you have to wear an N95 and be fit tested, for it. Exactly.
Oh, look at Elizabeth. That's awesome.
She's got her.
I'm gonna put you solo for a second there. I'm gonna put her show. Holy cow, look at this. What is that, like a representation of COVID-19 right there? That's awesome. With the spikes.
It's kind of dog toys that I bought for my dogs, and it just happened to be on top of the fridge, and I was like, it looks like Rona.
It really does. All right.
That's classic.
All right, thanks for doing that.
So here's N95.
It's the N95.
And I told them, I said, you had
different than what you had seen, okay, from other maybe techs or nurses there.
They were wearing the regular surgical mask.
Okay.
Which is good because it helps you. I said, you're only helping yourself, with that. You're not preventing, you're a first responder. You need to protect yourself. And they said, oh, no, it's not needed. It's not needed. I said, trust me, it is, because if you get an N95 and get yourself fit tested, you will know that nothing is coming in or out of that, because it's an actual biological respirator. And they said, well, how do you know? And I told them, I said, I'm a sterilization expert. I had to pull out my old ID. I said, take a look. They said, oh, well, that's not pertainable to our situation. I said, yes, it will be. And unfortunately now the other shoe has dropped. PPEs, PPEs, your hair covering, your mask, your robe. I said, all those three that you're doing right now. I said, number one, it's 3 weeks too late. I said, number two, it's you're doing self-preservation. You're our first responders. Right. And I've always been an advocate for that. I said, if you're going to do anything, protect yourself, because all protection starts with yourself.
So Elizabeth, before COVID-19, how were you? How did you know about N95, or did you start wearing an N95 well before this all broke out, or did you want to protect yourself more securely after you started noticing that this was for real?
Well, 98% of the time I stay at home, so I'm not on dialysis, so I don't have to leave. I don't, I'm not going to work right now. I'm a non-essential business. I run my mouth for a living. I'm an auctioneer. So we're,
Nice.
so we're shut down right now. My significant other does my grocery shopping for me, so I don't have to go into stores or anything like that, unless I just get out. I was always one of those kids who had a father that exposed me to germs, get dirty, go out, get dirty. Who cares what you eat? What germs you pick up, whatever, it's going to hit you. Because really, when you're a kid and you're exposed to those things, it helps build your immune system.
Right. It does.
Right.
And now being in the middle of allergy season, it's like, what is it? What is it?
So is it for you? So with your
being
allergy,
in Tennessee.
Is it dander, or is it like pollen and all sorts of stuff?
Pollen, grass, tree mold.
Okay.
They mowed our. I live in a HOA, homeowners association, and they mowed our grass this morning.
Oh, okay.
When that happened, my cough came and my sniffles, and I'm like, yeah, it's definitely Wednesday.
All right.
But no,
I'd like to see comments from other kidney warriors who also have allergies. Please comment below if you're a kidney warrior and you've got allergies, because that's the thing about kidney warriors is it's not just the only thing you battle.
Yeah, but my dad fought ahead when the whole COVID thing started to be introduced to the United States, and bought us a bunch of N95 masks.
Oh, wow.
Not a bunch, but he did buy.
So he did that for you. Okay.
My dad did that for our family so that we would have protection. They don't, they're technically not supposed to be used more than once.
Cool.
Right.
So, I have a couple here in case I do have to venture out into a hazardous area. We only have, like I said, earlier in our earlier conversation, we only have 45 cases where I live in a town of in the area of the county, about 75,000 people. So, we don't have a whole lot of cases here, but they are multiplying, but they're multiplying slowly because our local government got on top of our state government.
And that's that is good to hear. That is good to hear. That is positive, and I like positive, information. I do. One of the things I heard just the other day was from my state in Utah. Okay, and our governor yesterday had he was on Facebook Live. In fact, did I tell you, Jeremy? I think I may have told you this, but so our governor in Utah was on Facebook Live, and they basically broadcasted his whole speech with like a medical person. I can't remember what title she had. And the thing that surprised me, Elizabeth, is that the governor had to make a hard decision in Utah, and that he basically he extended the rest of the school year for kids, teenagers, not for adults with universities, but for all of the Utah schools. He did extended for the rest of the school year soft close. So what that means is soft close. You know what I mean? So they have to go online and finish the school, but they're not going into the schools physically, for the rest of the school year. So while he's doing this, they're literally on this Facebook Live. We've got 10 people right now watching, and thank you, by the way. I've got Lisa Baxter, Steve Belcher. I've had Leslie DeVoe, Betty Hale Mayweather, and anybody else I may be missing out, I apologize. So thank you for the 10 people that are watching right now. There may be other people watching from watch parties. But imagine, that there are 30,000 people watching a Facebook Live. I mean, it's just, to me, it's almost unfathomable, but there are 30,000 people watching this Facebook Live for the governor of Utah. Okay. And as you can imagine, the feed of, is pretty busy with the comments. And as I'm scrolling down, busy comments, all these comments, people are doing a bunch of comments. Okay. There are people that are getting mad, okay, that the governor has done this. Okay. And some people are even writing, okay, negative words or comments like, please give us our life back. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, he didn't introduce the virus to Utah. You know what I mean? He didn't do it. It's not his fault. That's the least thing that he wants is the economy to do poorly, because he wants the economy to thrive. Okay. It's not like he wants to, put people in this sort of unrest. It's the safety and health of the people that has to be the first priority. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, which leads me to my
survive,
right. Yeah. So, which leads me to, some of the discussion I wanted to have tonight from, is that why is it that we have some people that still either aren't taking this seriously? Because that's, in my opinion, someone who isn't taking it seriously, who thinks that the governor is not allowing them to have their life. Because then you don't get it if you have that, if you're making that comment. So, right. Like, have you, Jeremy, and have you, Elizabeth, have you, either one of you, and anybody else that's watching this broadcast right now, I'd like to have you comment. Please comment if you have still spoken with somebody, had dialogue, whether on the phone or in a virtual setting online, and gotten the impression that they're not taking it seriously at this point still.
I mean, as I told you before, Jared, I experienced it in my dialysis center. People just saying, oh, President Trump is this, and President. Well, you know what? I was never a never Trumper. I've always supported President. I mean, he's my president. I'm proud of him. And I remember watching him before. He said, I am human. I'm going to make a mistake. Don't criticize the mistake, or don't criticize the man for making the mistake. Criticize me for not making a move. That's when I should be criticized. And what these people were saying was, we need to get, as you said, get our lives back. And I said, you know what? Your life is there for you to protect. It's all about self-preservation. And I said all this as I was cleaning, because Elizabeth, Jared, I clean my own station every single time. I clean my machine with bleach wipes. I clean my chair as well, and I clean the TV arm because I've never seen them clean the TV arm, even though I don't use it. It's one of the dirtiest things at the dialysis station, because I've never seen them clean it at all.
Wow.
No, so I was no, I mean, I have my PDI wipes.
Okay, right on.
I have antibacterial wipes, and I have my bleach spray, some disinfectant spray, as well as having my hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
All this is in my bag as I go in every day.
And, the thing is, and I'd like to hear from you as well, Liz, but the thing is that, okay, the people now, and I said this to you yesterday, I think, Jeremy, is that, okay, people that don't have a disease, okay, are now getting a glimpse, okay, a sliver of understanding, okay, of how kidney warriors are living on a day-to-day basis well before COVID-19 became a problem, a pandemic, because, okay, your immune system and you were already weakened with your immune system well before this happened. And now other people are now having to work at becoming, they're having to worry about germs and the virus. So I'm hoping that our heightened sense of awareness, that this doesn't cease. But it still amazes me how people still aren't taking this seriously. We have over 600,000 cases of this virus in the United States alone, and it may be climbing it. I don't know the number exactly, but over 23,000 people have died from this virus.
Yep.
I could be awful.
It's over 1 million worldwide between 150 countries.
Right. Cases are over 1 million now. So, Elizabeth, have you spoken with anybody online or maybe on the phone where maybe you don't feel like they're taking it seriously enough?
Well, most of the people that I communicate with are taking it very seriously. And when we go into the sterilization issue, it's not just kidney patients, it's people with chronic diseases, period, that, have to be careful. Not only do I, suffer with polycystic kidney, I also have polycystic liver, which pushes the lungs up into the diaphragm, and it causes all kinds of, other issues. I have some kind of underlying autoimmune disorder. So this
could be very serious to you if you were to contract.
Talking about people with heart disease, people with lupus, people with diabetes, the chronic conditions go on and on and on.
Right.
It's all, if we all contract it, it's going to affect us differently.
It does.
And not only the immediate ramifications, but look at the long-term things that we could potentially suffer from contracting COVID. So, but most of the people that I'm around are very cautious about what they do, what they wear. People here are wearing masks and gloves in grocery stores. If you go through a drive-through just a typical drive-through, they're changing their gloves. They take the money, they put the money in the cash register. They change their gloves.
God bless them. God bless them. So I want them to do that. People in my area are very aware of what's going on. I live in a town that has a medical school. It's a teaching. We have a teaching hospital. So a lot of practices are in play here where they're not so much in others, not because they can't handle the capacity of it because of the supplies, but because they don't know how. Here, where I am now, we have supplies. We have ventilators. We're set up to go if we hit a point to where things start progressing. But, our governor mandated a safer at home order a couple of weeks ago. We could still go out, with social distancing, stuff along those lines. They closed our schools down a month ago. Schools have been closed for a month. Of course, kids are doing online programs, and elementary school kids are getting packets from home. Okay, I think maybe you may have gotten a call with your phone, Elizabeth, and all right. Can you still hear me, Jeremy?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay. So Elizabeth, if you could log off, then click on the link and come back, because we've lost your audio. I can't hear you right now. Okay. So while we're waiting, I can't hear you, Elizabeth. So if you can just log out and then log back in. Okay. So what I'd like to talk about, Jeremy, from is what I got word of today. And again, I live in Utah, so it's different from state to state. New Jersey, okay, they have more cases. Okay.
Mm,
So it's going to be a little bit different when we compare Utah to New Jersey. But I got word today that there there may be some gyms, okay, like personal fitness gyms, right?
mm.
Some public, places that may open up here in Utah. And I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that at all right now because, okay, I've gotten word, Elizabeth, that there may be some like fitness gyms, just what I mean by general, when you have to pay a monthly fee and you go to a gym, right?
Right,
But
Yeah.
right.
I've heard that in Utah there may be some gyms that may open up now. Now here's the thing, okay? I understand that there are some businesses suffering, okay, and economically, okay, many of these businesses haven't been able to open. They're suffering, their families are suffering, and I'm sorry for that, okay? And I don't want anybody to struggle financially where, that they don't know what their future looks like, financially. That's a bad future and it's bad to envision. With that being said, okay, I also don't want to envision a future where we're introducing people to a public place where they may congregate, okay, where they have the potential to infect other people.
Right.
This, to me, is just not a good idea. Okay,
It's a-
I understand. You know what I mean? I mean, I get it. Okay, let's practice social distancing. How are you going to do that in the gym?
Well, I look at it this way. I'm an auctioneer, and all of our business interactions are crowds of people.
Yes. Yeah.
Just like we're a small family-owned business, and we're closed right now because we're non-essential. Gyms are non-essential at this point. Now, I can understand, doing things state by state depending on their numbers. Tennessee's not ready. New York's not ready. New Jersey's not ready. I don't think California's not ready. Louisiana's not ready.